Welcome to Ad Astra. Well, the visual novel Ad Astra, the actual place, which you can see on screen here, we'll be going to later and we'll learn more about it. So why am I doing this? Why am I not doing Echo? Well, there will be or will have been a TJ update, depends on when this one comes out publicly. So I'm still continuing with TJ's route. Ad Astra is actually a kind of side project for Howley. She's been working on in between other things. And this is like a demo for it, so we're going to run through this video. Whether we'll do a series, I don't know, because there may be some not safe for TJ stuff further on in the novel, which is also really not good for YouTube. Then you have to play it yourself rather than listen to me chops in on all the time. But yet this is written by Howley. Haps is responsible for the sprites and the CGs, and backgrounds are by Black Sunday, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, I've only seen it written down. Yeah, I have been through it before, I really like this. So I'm going to stop talking about this stuff and just do my narration, and I'll talk a bit more at the end, so then you can just stop listening and turn the video off, and don't forget I can tell how many people do that. YouTube is handy sometimes. Now, let's go in here with Ad Astra. It's so big. Oh, it's too much. How do they get anything done? Sense in doubt. Shall we proceed with the directive, Amicus? Oh, I don't know. Are you sure they're level 5? Data from mission 32-65-193 indicates primate species with level 5 intelligence and... Yeah, I get it. Thanks. Most recent data indicates that all uplift attempts by the parents have failed. Huh, figures. Why did we try to uplift here in the first place? Sense in doubt. Shall we proceed? Name of the planet? Earth. Location of Romanus uplift? The city of Rome, in the state of Italy. Is the probe there? It has arrived. Give me a visual. Zoom in. That doesn't look like Ad Astra at all. Reminder that uplift failed. Ruins of uplift attempt remain. Show me the ruins. Show in the Roman Forum. Sense in doubt. Shut up, please. What the hell are they even saying? That's not Latin. It's all messed up. Sense in... That creature there. They are called humans. Get closer. It's a human? Collecting data. He appears to be a young male human. Have you located the directive? Yes. It's hard to believe I'm actually here. After years of fantasizing about it, I'm in Rome. I've been bouncing around with my friends like an idiot all day. Yeah, I look like a total tourist, but this is what I've been saving up for the past 2 years. A whole semester in Rome with the study abroad program. All of the conversations I've had with my parents about what a waste of money it would be evaporates from my brain as I take in the view. We only have a few hours, so we move from the Forum to Palatine Hill, then finally to a nearby disco where I get just a little drunk. Before I know it, it's 2 in the morning, and somehow my friends and I are able to stumble to a taxi that takes us back to our apartments. I walk unsteadily through the darkness, glad that I have the place to myself for now. Apparently my group was the first to arrive, and my signed flatmates won't be here for a few days at least. I open the door to my room and move my hand along the wall. I stumble in and sit on my bed, bouncing happily for a moment. I think about going out onto the balcony, but I've been walking all day and it feels too nice to be sitting down. Plus it might not be a great idea considering the state I'm in right now. Still, Just knowing the magic of the city is just outside my window is going to make it hard to sleep. I sigh happily and look around my little room. Actually, I'm told that it's kind of big by this city's standards. It's still a little bare since I just moved in today. I'd basically just dropped my suitcases next to the door before running out again. I glance at them, but decide I'm way too tired right now to unpack. I'll get to it tomorrow. In the meantime, I just lay back, smiling in the afterglow of today's excitement. And tomorrow I'll get to see even more. Damn it, I need to calm down. No way am I going to have the energy I'll need tomorrow if I'm up all night. I've got the whole semester on top of that. School doesn't actually start for another 2 weeks. There's plenty of time. Just relax for now and enjoy it. With that thought in my head, I start to drift off. Something moves. I lay there in the dark, wondering if I dreamed it. I had been dreaming, even though I can't remember exactly what it was about. Something about a portal, maybe? I listen for a while, but there's no other sound. Just the occasional soft whoosh of a car passing by outside my balcony. I shift around a little. The suffocating humidity is making the sheets stick to my skin. I wonder if maybe there's a fan in the closet. I finally sit up in bed, realising there's no way I'm going to fall back to sleep like this. I could at least try sliding open the balcony door, though I'm not sure that will do me any good. Worth a try, I guess. I groggily slide out of bed and try to slide the glass door open. It doesn't budge. I struggle for a few more seconds before sighing and moving toward the door to find the light switch. My feet slide along the semi-cool wooden floor, which feels great, while my hands stretch out in front of me searching for the wall. Right then, I remember I was woken up by noises, and I imagined some intruder standing there in the dark waiting for me to bump into him. Feeling the hair stand up on the back of my neck, I quicken my pace and find the wall, fumbling around until... I quickly glance around the room, relieved that it's empty. My parents had warned me about the crime rate here. While the city is technically safe in terms of murder, robberies and muggings are apparently pretty common. I'd shrugged it off at the time, but now that I'm alone... I make my way to the balcony, looking for the lock before finally seeing there's a latch near the top of the door. I unhook it and slowly slide the door open. I'm disappointed to find that the air wafting from outside is almost as stuffy as the air inside. Still, I take the moment to stare out at the lights of the city for a while. Even though I'm more interested in the ruins, the city itself is undeniably beautiful. Nothing like my hometown. That's when I notice there's a strange smell in the air, like burning rubber. I stick my head out a bit further, looking around for the source. I see nothing. Maybe that's normal here? I look back at the clock on the wall. 1 a.m. I sigh and shuffle back to the bed, only realising I've left the light on once I've already fallen back first onto the covers. I sigh and will myself to get up. The tiredness has returned and the heavy humidity is almost like a warm blanket pressing down on me. I close my eyes. I'll get up and turn it off in a second. Just need to rest my eyes for a bit. Just for a bit. Something moves again. And there's another smell in the air. A good smell this time. Something floral. It reminds me of lavender. And that's when something hard and sharp presses into my left eye socket just above the eye. It doesn't really hurt, but shocks me awake. It leans over me, something shiny in its grip which it's pulling back from my head. Ah! I kick out with both feet, hitting the thing leaning over me in its body. Yes, a pull! It lets out a surprised grunt, stumbling back and falling on its rear while I scramble back on my bed, pressing myself against the wall. Almost immediately it scrambles back up, revealing its massive build and its masculine shape. He adjusts his cape and smooths down his fur before rubbing at his chest, giving me an odd look. Then he fixes a smile back on his face. Harvey. I stare. That's all I can do is stare. He stares back at me for a moment and clears his throat. Hello, Harvey. The space above my left eye throbs, and it sounds like I'm hearing two things at once from the same voice. Potete intelligere? Do you understand? Okay. Again, the bizarre twitch in my eye and my brain and hearing two things at once. I feel like I'm going to be sick. The room shifts and swirls a bit, then slowly starts to settle again. The twitching in my head turns into a dull throb. I'm having a nightmare. Do you understand me? I stare at him and he stares back. Come, I don't know if the chip is working. What? Well, he can speak. Can you understand me? When am I going to wake up? He keeps staring at me. Automatically I respond to him. Yes? Ah, good. Seems it's finally working now. They take a moment to adjust to the host brain. I struggle to keep up with his words. I'm still hearing what he's saying. It's almost Italian with the inflections and the rolling R's, but at the same time it's definitely not Italian. Still, I can understand what he's saying, like he's speaking my own language at the same time. It makes it hard to concentrate. What is your name? We are going to choose this name for a reason possibly two other people in the universe will actually understand. His expectant look almost forces the answer out of my mouth. Tibor. Tibor? Beautiful. I am Amicus. The confusing double language I was hearing is starting to fade. Now only my own language comes from his mouth. It's odd, the words not quite matching up with his lips. What's even more distracting are the massive canines that continue to flash behind those lips. I need to get the hell out of here. Dream or not, I don't like the look of the teeth and claws on this thing. Ah, is the Lingua having troubles again? I don't respond, instead glancing at the door just to the right and behind this Amicus. He frowns. Come, you told me they're level 5. I can't even speak with it. It takes me a moment to realise he's not talking to me. I hear a soft chatter coming from the wolf, like someone's talking to him from a phone, but I can't see anything. Yeah? Well, he kicked me in the chest. Amicus rubs at his chest with a frown. More muffled speaking. Of course I didn't. He just up and kicked me. He's looking at me like he has no idea. More muffled speaking interrupts him. Oh, wait, what? Are you serious? Now he looks pissed and I press myself harder against the wall, trying to work up the courage to make a break for the door. How? Wait, so you're always offering me opinions on my mood, but you couldn't offer that? More muffled babbling, but the wolf thing interrupts it with a snarl. Well, what the hell do I do now? His lips are drawn back, and now I get to have a real good view of those canines. I stare wide-eyed at them, and that's when he seems to notice me again. He readjusts his expression to a smile, but I can still see a fang poking out. Hey, listen. Something about the way he acts, his expressions, demeanour. He's so human. Could you come with me outside real quick? For some reason, the realisation of his humanness makes me absolutely positive that this is a dream. This must be a character from a game or a movie that I'd seen. I shake my head slowly at him. Please? I just stare, still waiting to wake up. I've had dreams where I couldn't wake up before. This is just one of those. I remember reading somewhere that if you aren't sure of your dream and you can plug your nose. If you can still breathe, then it's definitely a dream. I remain frozen against the wall. The massive wolf sighs. Then his paw suddenly moves to his waist. I only have a moment to see some sort of device with multicoloured lights before he moves. My entire body seizes up and things go black. My body feels strangely numb. It's like when I wake up with a dead leg or arm, except right now it's my entire body. The only thing I can really feel is a sharp, cold pain behind and above my left eye. I try to wiggle my fingers and hands, wondering if I'm having some sort of sleep paralysis. They move, at least I think they do, Everything's so dark. Am I still in the apartment? Usually there's a little bit of light coming from the balcony because of the street lamps, but everything is pitch black. I start to feel a little panicky, both from the numb feeling and also the idea that I might have gone blind somehow. I try to remember what happened last. Did I go out somewhere? Maybe a club? The disco? Did I take something? I start to push myself up, and that's when I feel something soft under my hands, and something very hard under it like concrete. I'm definitely not in a bed right now. No, I really am starting to panic, wondering if I've been kidnapped. I get on my hands and knees, thankful at least the numb feeling is going away. I'm also relieved to find out that I'm not blind. I see a soft glow of light outlining what's roughly the shape of a door in front of me. I open my mouth, about to call out before I force it shut again. I have no idea where I am or how I got here, but I'm not liking the signs. My head throbs a little and I close my eyes tight, trying to steady my breathing, listening to my heart pound. I definitely got back to my apartment. I remember going to bed, and then I remember... My eyes fly open as I remember that wolf creature staring at me with those blue eyes. And those teeth. Oh my god, there's no way, there's no fucking way. I open my eyes again and stare at the soft light, trying to listen. There's a constant hum of some kind, a whirring of a large machine. It's gentle and almost soothing, but it makes me think I'm in some sort of vehicle. I don't feel anything, no bumps or turns. I slowly crawl toward the door, listening as hard as I can for voices or movement, anything that might tell me someone's nearby. As I get closer to the door, I do hear something, a type of beeping and chirping. I stay in that position for what feels like a solid 15 minutes, not hearing anything more. I think about trying to open the door, but I realise that might not be a great idea. I still don't know if that wolf is real. No, I know he isn't real. What's more likely is that someone slipped something into my drink and I hallucinated everything. I'd laughed off my parents' warnings that tourists are vulnerable in Rome, but now that doesn't seem so crazy. Someone had drugged me, followed me to my apartment, then kidnapped me. I need something, a weapon, before I try opening the door. I feel like I'm in a closet of some kind, so there's probably something here that I can use. Slowly, I get on my knees and start moving forward, waving my hands out in front of me. If I can find the shelves and I can just feel around for something solid and... My hand sweeps what feels like a box, and what follows is a clang of metal as something falls to the floor. I cringe, squeezing my eyes shut as the sound echoes around the room I'm in. I kneel there in complete silence, stunned. That's when light spills over my body, followed by a large shadow. Oh, hey, you're awake. Did you know he was awake? Yes, for approximately 0.2 hours. I swear to the gods, why are you so useless? I sit there, not having turned around yet, but the shadow gets bigger and I feel him looming over me. I get a whiff of lavender. Finally, I slowly turn my head and see the wolf. He towers over me, his broad muzzle pointed down so he can look me right in the eye. While his size and general demeanour are intimidating, his eyes are warm and friendly. Doesn't really matter to me right now, as I realise I hadn't been dreaming or hallucinating earlier. Or the dream hallucination is ongoing. The wolf moves towards me and I immediately scoot back until the shelves behind me dig into my spine. I vaguely noticed the metal thing I'd knocked over earlier. It's a polygon-shaped thing with a long cord running out of it. Remember, the human doesn't know about the Galaxius. Proceed with caution. The wolf's ears flick before he visibly tries to write his expression into a smile. Hello, human. Sorry, I mean Tibor, right? Again, I get caught up in watching the movements of his mouth counter to what I'm hearing in my brain. Then I notice he's waiting, watching me intently. I open my mouth, then close it, then nod. The wolf still stares at me, seeming not to understand. Right? The silence stretches on until I finally force myself to speak. Yes. It comes out in barely a whisper. Great. So now that we understand that, I can tell you that I'm from the star Stella Vitae, very far from here. The wolf sets his paws far apart, his eyes wide as he emphasizes the distance. He's talking to me in a way one might to a very dumb 2-year-old. I live on a moon called Ad Astra. Do you know what a moon is? You live on what's called a planet. I stared at him for a moment, almost offended despite my continuing shock. Amicus smiles gently. A moon is a large... I know what a moon is. Amicus blinks at me. We have one. My words feel automatic. Actually, everything feels like it's on autopilot right now. Oh. Well, I didn't know that. That's great. There's an awkward silence as the two of us stare at each other. The initial fear is wearing off. I feel that if this alien is meaning to hurt me, he would have done it by now. At least, for now. Amicus rubs his paws together nervously. Are you hungry? He motions at his mouth, then rubs his stomach while licking his lips. Again, gestures and expressions that I have no trouble interpreting. The only alien thing about him is his appearance. I don't know. The wolf frowns, almost looking frustrated. His slow speech gets even slower. Well, why don't we give it a try then? I guess my answers don't exactly make me seem intelligent. I don't know how else to respond. Why don't you come out onto the deck with me? I'll make something. Amicus gives an exaggerated come-on gesture with both paws as he walks backwards. Straight into the wall as he misses the door. Ow! Yeah, let's go, human. He rubs the back of his head with a wince before turning and walking out the door. I stare at the open door for a moment before slowly getting up and following him, walking over a brown shag rug, the soft thing I'd been lying on. That's when I'm standing out in the middle of what looks like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's small and cramped, but the amount of unfamiliar glowing technology is almost overwhelming. Glass panels cover almost every inch of the walls around me, displaying images and characters that I can't even come close to understanding. Straight ahead of me are large windows, looking out into blackness dotted with specks of light. Specks of light? I'm in a spaceship. Where the hell is he taking me? Amicus is over to my right side, messing with what I can only describe as the large espresso machine growing out of the side of the spaceship. He's holding a cup under a nozzle, ducking down a little to stare at the opening. He notices me looking. Takes a while to warm up. I have to warn you that it's not very good, but it's probably better than most of what you eat on your moon, planet, I mean. Just as he's talking, a very thick globule of brown sludge shoots out of the nozzle, half of it missing the cup. Ah, damn it. The wolf hastily moves the cup to catch the rest of it while reaching over with his other paw to snatch up a rag from the hook on the side of the machine. Sorry, this thing is near broken. Do you want to sit down? He nods his head over at one of the two seats in front of the windows. Just, don't touch any of the bright lights, okay? I make my way over to the front of the deck, still waiting to wake up. I stand beside the seat, reaching out to touch the soft red bristles of the helmet and the wings on the side. This only enforces the feeling that I'm hallucinating or dreaming. There's a strange Roman influence to Amicus and the ship, one that's almost cartoonish. Has my obsession over Rome gone too far? I can just imagine myself in some Italian hospital right now, babbling about Roman wolf aliens. Go on and sit. Amicus plants himself heavily in the seat next to mine, holding 2 cups of what looks like brown sludge. He holds out one to me. I take it gingerly before sitting down. Looking into the cup, the food has the consistency and look of half-melted chocolate ice cream. Except it's warm and smells like dirt, like literal mud. I scrunch my nose up at it, which Amicus notices. Yeah, it's not the best. I actually had some good food that I brought along with me. But I ate it all before I got here. The wolf shrugs, then settles excitedly into his seat. So tell me about where you're from. What's life like on Earth? It's... okay. Okay, well, what's your occupation? I'm a student. Oh, what discipline? I try to adjust to the surreal feeling of talking to this wolf. I don't know yet. I was looking into history, Greek and Roman studies. That seems confusing to him for some reason. Do you have an emperor? What's he like? I catch myself staring at his mouth again, at the weird way his mouth is unsynced with his words. No. Then how... I interrupt him. Why isn't your mouth matching up with the sounds you're making? Eh? Even with the spaceship and alien around me, it's the weird distortion of feeling like I'm watching a dubbed movie that has me most unsettled. Oh. Amicus points a finger at me to a spot just above my left eye. I gave you a Lingua. It helps you understand me. I stare at him, but he doesn't offer anything more. How? Oh, well, it sort of attaches to the language centre in the brain. It's very smart. It learns from the host brain and is able to interpret the 8 major Galaxious languages for them. And how does it do that? Well, our brains are so structured in similar ways, at least among sentients, that it works almost universally. Honestly, it's parental tech, so I'm not fully sure of how it works. None of us do, but it does work. Amicus continues to look at me, clearly concerned about something. But I'm concerned too. How did you get it into my brain? You know, you ask a lot of questions. I stare at him. Well, this is all kind of new to me. Should I not be asking questions? Oh, it's fine. I've just never had a child ask me questions, really. Anyway, there's a device that inserts it. I was lucky to find one left over on the ship. Inserts it. I rub the spot between my eye and eye socket. The skin's slightly tender. Does it hurt? Well, that should wear off in a few hours. I stare at Amicus for a few moments, then down into my cup, feeling a bit sick. Staring at the brown mush isn't helping. Need help with that? You can eat it like this. He dips his muzzle down towards his own cup. He sticks out a long, thick pink tongue, pressing into the sludge before cupping it and bringing it back up into his mouth. He pulls a bit of a face before smiling. Not terrible. Then he looks at me a bit closer. Wait, you do have a tongue, right? I stare back at him for a moment before setting the cup to the side on the armrest. What are you doing? Huh? What is all this? Where are you taking me? At this point, I'm starting to get over the shock. I'm also starting to get annoyed at this alien's complete disregard for basically everything to do with me. You kidnapped me, you left me in a closet, you feeded me what looks like shit, and now you tell me you jabbed something into my brain? Amicus actually flinches at that. Does it still hurt? I can give you a pain manager. I don't really want anything from you. What is all of this? The wolf just stares at me wide-eyed. It's like he didn't even consider me being capable of being upset. Hey, it's okay. You kidnapped me. I feel myself getting more panicked, both in realization of what's happened, what's currently happening. No, well, I mean... You tased me or something. What? You electrocuted me. No, it's not electricity. That doesn't make it better. For a brief moment I think about overpowering this wolf, somehow turning the ship around if I can figure it out. Sensing hostile intent. Proceed with caution, Amicus. Amicus doesn't say anything. I see him gripping into his cup tightly. I get the odd feeling he didn't expect me to point these things out to him. Did he think that I was that unintelligent? I can tell he's calculating something in his head right now, and it makes me nervous. Maybe I should just have played dumb. We stared at each other for a long while until Amicus's steely gaze forces me to look away. I choose to glance up at the ceiling, deciding to change the subject and give myself some time to just think. What is that thing? Amicus clears his throat. What? That voice. I nod up at the ceiling in the vague direction where I heard the sound come from. The thing that can apparently sense my hostile intents. Oh! Amicus looks up at the ceiling too. That's Computatrum, or Com. He's pretty annoying, aren't you, Com? I can provide diagnostics on the ship, on the mood and competence of crewmates, on... Thank you, Com. Anyway, he's not actually a sentient. He's a program that can process language and spit out information stored in his database. Amicus pauses. I'm sorry, you probably don't understand what I'm talking about. I think I do. Artificial intelligence, maybe? I reach instinctively for the pocket of my jeans. I remember that I left my phone on the bedside table. Amicus's eyes widen once again, and once again I wonder if I should be keeping my mouth shut. Revealing how much I know seems to be some sort of trigger for him. So have you been in space before? No. I look out the window staring at the stars. Okay. Have your people ever been to space? No, we haven't. Do you know what atoms are? Nuclear energy, maybe? No. Based on Nexus analysis on Earth, these statements appear to be misleading, Amicus. I glance at the ceiling again, realizing now that I've got a constant spy above me. I look back at Amicus and we stare at each other in silence for a long moment. Then I realize how absurd all of this is. What do you want with me? Amicus looks away, seeming to think. Well, it's part of a program on my planet to introduce new aliens to the Galaxius. What is that? It's the Greater Galactic Civilization, Tibor. It's a gradual strategy to slowly introduce Earth to the idea of other sentience. Oh, is this happening to other humans? Yes. I contemplate this for a moment. And when you're done showing me, you'll take me back? There's a momentary pause I don't like very much. Yes. I imagine that Yura. These statements appear to be misleading, from Com right now if you're on my side. I look into my cup of brown sludge again. Well, to be honest, I'm not all that interested, so could you just take me back? Now? Amicus stares at me. I've got school and a family. They don't know where I am right now. Well, I mean, don't you want to see the galaxy? I really think it'd be amazing for someone like you that hasn't seen it before. The wolf starts fidgeting with his paws, not looking at me, choosing to stare out of the windows. He isn't wrong. It would be pretty cool to see the galaxy, but not with someone like him who kidnapped me, taking me somewhere for a reason he isn't telling me. No, I actually want to go home right now. Amicus stares at me for a full 10 seconds before looking away. How about we wait until we get to my home, then we can discuss it? No, take me back. I feel my heart hammering in my chest as I start to realize that this alien is definitely not going to take me back. I stand up and Amicus flinches and brings his paws up to his chest as if I'm going to attack him. We stay like that for a moment. I'm breathing hard, staring down at the wolf while Amicus stares back at me, wide-eyed. Finally, Amicus lets out a big sigh, looking back out the window. Okay, I'm going to take you back. I'm sorry. I watch him for a moment, looking for signs of sincerity, but he still won't look at me. Really? Yes, but it's complicated. We're on a trajectory for Ad Astra. It'll take us time for us to turn around. I keep watching him, not sure what to do. I feel like he's lying, but if he is, there's really nothing I can do about it. I'm stuck here with him, probably millions of miles from Earth, with no way of knowing how to get back. So I just stand there, arms folded tightly against my chest, staring out the window too. That's when I see a star brighter than all the others, almost too bright to look at. Is that the sun? The what? Is that my star, my planet's star? Amicus squints in the direction I'm looking in. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's your star. I can't remember the name we have for it. It's a bunch of numbers. How far away are we? Well, not far. We could get back there in no time. Amicus stands up next to me, seeming to stretch. So, are we going back? Yeah. Just gotta do it in a way that doesn't waste too much energy. I still have to get back after all. I stare in the direction of the sun again, my gaze slightly averted from the piercing dot. How long has it been since I was kidnapped? What if my friends have alerted the school or even the authorities? How am I going to explain this? There's a movement to my right, and just as I'm turning to look, something cold presses into the side of my neck. A familiar sensation my muscles tightening up makes me slam back into the seat. At the same time, my mind seems to wipe clean. Empty. Suddenly I'm surrounded by soft and warm grey fur. Feel like a limp blanket as I'm flopped around, my muscles like jelly. It's not a bad feeling. In fact, I kind of feel great. I would smile if my facial muscles were working. I'm laid on the ground and then my arms are pushed behind me. Something starts to wind around my wrists. Still detecting consciousness from the human. Insufficient charge used. I used it on the lowest setting. I think I hit him with too much last time. Well, it looks like he's out there anyway, though. I hear a ragged breathe in my ear as my arms are jerked around. Damn it. He's more sentient than any child I've known. Sensing distress. Would you like a stress tablet, Amicus? Maybe even as intelligent as a wolf. Well, almost. I try to open my eyes, but the eyelids are too heavy to lift. My brain isn't really working either. I can't seem to focus. Padded footsteps move around my head. Some beeps follow, then silence. My mind startles, that deep voice starts up again. What do I do now? I've messed this up about as badly as I could have. Solutions, Com? Solutions. Consider returning the human back to Earth. If no evidence is left behind, it is unlikely his statements would be believed. Too late for that since I just activated the stretch drive. Yes, that was inadvisable. Yeah, well, I don't know how advanced his species is. If he's been misleading, then that means they're spacefaring. They could have patrols in their star system. I want to get out of there as soon as possible. You know, you could have offered the solution before I did that. You set me to minimal interruptions. Next solution. Consider termination of the human, incineration of the remains through the radiation of the stretch drive. Paul! No! Next solution. Consider taking the human to Adastra and use him as your pet as you originally planned. From there you may pass him off as less sentient. It is unlikely you will be questioned. I don't know. He already despises me, and after what I just did... Amicus. Alternative solutions point to a higher likelihood that the monitors will be alerted to your actions. Proceed with caution. Com, please wipe the last 10 minutes of conversation. Then go into sleep mode until I wake you. I need to think. Wipe in memory. Enter in sleep mode. A few more moments of silence go by and I feel a wave of fatigue. I start to fall asleep. The padded footsteps move closer to me and I feel a presence looming. Then something heavy and soft rests on my forearm. I'm sorry. This was a mistake. Then I'm dragged for a short while before I come to rest on something shaggy and soft. Then silence. Then sleep. I float in a void of nothingness. Not even blackness. Nothingness. The feeling of having no sense of self, the boundaries of my being having no boundaries. It makes me panic. I'm still here, but nothing else exists. Am I all there is? I feel the borders of my sanity start to bend and break. It only lasts for a moment before something massive and all-encompassing grabs hold of me. Instantly I'm comforted, calmed by a sense of complete security. All is as it should be. I crack my eyes open to a grey ceiling, the familiar hum of the ship in my ears. My back aches as I feel my hands bunched up underneath me, making me arch uncomfortably. The numbness isn't there like last time. Instead, it just feels like I woke up from a deep sleep. I can tell I'm back in the utility closet laying on the rug, but the door is open, allowing me to actually see. Slowly I turn my head just a bit, and I'm able to vaguely make out the small deck that I'd just been in. I see Amicus to the far right, both his paws resting on the counter with a food dispenser, looking down at the panel. He's got his back to me at an angle, one foot crossed behind the other, his tail swishing back and forth while he mumbles to himself. As slowly as I can, I turn over onto my side, trying to let out a groan of relief as my back and hands are relieved of pressure. I grimace through the pain of having blood rush back into my fingers. That's when I realise that my hands are tied at the wrists behind my back with a cord of some kind. The ends of it dangle through my fingers and it feels smooth and metallic. Some slow movements with my hands tell me immediately they haven't been tied well. My left hand is fairly secure, but the looper on my right is loose. I get the feeling if I pull it hard enough, I might be able to slip it. And just like that, it comes out. My shoulder jerks when I do it and I freeze, waiting to see if Amicus might notice. He goes on staring down at the panel, leaning forward to rest his chin on a fist. Cassius is probably going to figure it out right away, I know it. Amicus sighs and hunches over further. I let out the breath I'm holding as quietly as I can before I start looking around, moving my head as little as possible. On the shelves there are a variety of different objects that I can't identify. They all have a heavy industrial look to them. I know that I could use any of them as a weapon. There's a long pipe-like object at the end of the bottom shelf. Imagine hefting that in both hands, bring the end of it down on the top of that stupid wolf's. Amicus suddenly straightens up and I stiffen, closing my eyes. I hear the wolf move, padding in my direction. That continues until there's a pause and I can feel his presence standing in the doorway. I crack open an eye, just a tiny bit, to see what he might be doing. I get a vague image of him standing over me, looking down. Hello? Human? Tibor? I don't move and I breathe as evenly as I can. Hello? He must know I'm awake. I can feel myself shaking from all the tension. Damn it. Amicus mumbles to himself as he turns away, moving back towards the deck. That's when I realise that this might be my best chance to make my move. He's not going to take me back. He's knocked me out twice and that's reason enough to do what I'm about to do. As quietly as I can, I roll over and reach out for the metal pipe. By some miracle, I manage not to clang it against the metal rack it's on. Quietly, I bring it up in both hands as I stand. It's heavy. A lot heavier than I expected, but I can manage it. I focus on the retreating wolf's back and move toward him at a half run, my bare feet allowing me to quietly pad toward him. Despite that, at the last second I see his ears come up straight, his body starting to shift in a way that tells me he's about to turn around. And I swing. What happens next is something I can't explain. I aim for his head, wanting to cause as much damage as possible, not really thinking about the consequences of what might happen if I seriously injure or even kill him. But for some inexplicable reason, the trajectory of my swing suddenly dips down, as if caused by some invisible magnet, making me miss Amicus's head. The strange force doesn't lessen the power of my swing, though. It carries through to land with a hard, meaty thump into the side of the wolf's thick neck. Ah! Amicus cringes, both paws moving to cover the back and side of his neck, dropping into a crouch. He looks back at me, his eyes wide and wild, an expression that sends a shot of fear into my body. I suddenly see him as a wild animal, a wild, scared and very angry animal. I raise the pipe again, over my head to bring it down on the head I just missed. But Amicus is fast. He leaps straight up from the crouch in an upward and forward motion straight into my chest. I wheeze, but I manage to stay on my feet as the wolf carries me backward to slam against the wall of the deck. Amicus snarls into my face, teeth bared, one eye wincing shut. I struggle, but there's no way. He handles me like a rag doll, like a toy. This must be how someone feels during a wild animal attack. Completely helpless, suddenly wondering why evolution left us so damn defenseless. What the hell are you doing? Ah! Amicus yells at me as he lets go one of my wrists to put a paw to his neck, cringing as he does. Fuck! I struggle with my freed hand, grabbing Amicus's face and trying to gouge his eyes and nose. The wolf immediately lets go of his neck and grabs the pipe. He wrenches it away, but I try to hold on and almost get lifted off my feet. He swings it one way, then violently in the other direction, throwing me to the floor of the deck as I lose my grip on the weapon. Amicus advances on me as I lay flat on my back, staring up at him wide-eyed, realising how big of a mistake I've made thinking I could handle a 7-foot-tall, muscle-bound wolf. I wonder if he's going to come at me with a pipe, but he throws it to the side. He starts to lean over me, still snarling. You little prick. Well, this time I'm going to bind you up to your shoulders. How does that sound? He grabs at one of my arms, trying to pull me up, but I go limp. Get up! Otherwise I'm going to make you. He grabs my other arm. That's when I notice his wide stance over me and a particular bulge between his legs. I hardly think about it. Drawing back one foot, I launch it as hard as I can into his crotch. I feel a distinctly soft form get flattened under my foot as it gets trapped between the force of my kick and the substantial weight of Amicus's body. If there's any doubt in my mind that this male alien would be affected any differently compared to a male human, his reaction quashed it. Amicus freezes, eyes wide, hunching over me even further while his thighs snap together, trapping my foot. We both stay frozen for an awkward length of time as I stare at what I'd just done. That's when I see the device hanging on his waistband, the one he'd been using to knock me out. I struggle to pull my foot free of the surprisingly tight embrace of his thighs, while at the same time pulling my hands out of his now limp grasp. I reach for his waist, grabbing the device. Amicus, probably distracted by the unexpected nutshot, doesn't seem to notice, and I finally yank my foot free. I go for another kick, trying to capitalise on my success. This time I mostly miss, instead hitting him higher. Amicus stumbles back, both paws flying to his crotch as he stays bent over, mouth hanging open and his eyes wide, making a weird gasping sound like he's holding his breath. I look at the device in my hands, desperately trying to understand how to use it. A glass panel takes up most of the face of the device, like a phone, but two metal prongs stick out one end. I frantically push at the screen and it comes to life, displaying a vertical bar. About a tenth of it is filled from the bottom with a light blue colour. I pushed it with my thumb, waiting for something to happen, for electricity to start arcing between the prongs, or something. Instead, the bar fills with a slide of my thumb. I push it all the way up until the colour turns a dark violet. I hear a snarl and see Amicus coming at me again, one paw still over his crotch, the other reaching out for me. I don't have time to think, I just duck under his approaching paw and press the prongs as hard as I can into his body. It sinks into his stomach and I hear the wolf make a huff sound into my ear. There's a pause and nothing seems to happen. Then I press harder and squeeze the device and the result is instant. There's no sound, but Amicus's body seizes violently, shaking if he's having a seizure. The muscles in his stomach tense hard and push the device back out a few inches. I hold it there, not wanting to let up in case it isn't enough, in case he'll just recover and come at me again. After a few seconds, the wolf's seizing and shuddering stops on its own. I start to pull back and get a glimpse of Amicus's face. His muzzle hangs open, foam and drool hanging from his chin, his eyes rolling back in his head. It's a scary sight, so I try to back away, and Amicus comes with me, the contact with the device having been the only thing keeping him balanced. His weight takes me down, and the next thing I know is I'm flat on my back, struggling to breathe as Amicus's incredible weight crushes me into the metal deck. He practically envelops me, this soft furry body, his big head resting on my chest. I stare down at him, watching his black lips and eyelids twitch, his tongue hanging out as he makes weird snorting sounds. I gasp and strain as I spend the next minute working myself out from under him, grimacing as his foamy drool smears on my chest. Finally I manage to break free of his dead weight and crawl a few feet away, spending a few moments catching my breath. I look back at his still twitching form, his rump stuck slightly up in the air. I wonder how long I have before he wakes up. There's a long shiny thin cord around my left wrist and I start to work at the knot. It's a strange material, smooth, metallic, yet it bends as easily as rope. It's a pain in the ass getting it undone though. It's like the dumb wolf just put as many knots into it as he could. He probably had no idea of what he was doing, and now it makes sense why I was able to get out of it so easily. While I'm undoing the mess, I keep looking over at him. The twitches and snorts are subsiding, which I'm not sure is a good thing or not. Come on. I grunt as I finally pull the last tangle out, straightening the metal rope thing up out of both my hands. I look between it and the knocked out wolf in front of me, giving my head a little shake. What the fuck is even happening? I get to work, planting my butt on Amicus's as I pull both his paws behind his back. With some difficulty keeping my balance, I lift his heavy arms and start winding the rope around his wrists. I'm not exactly an expert at tying hands behind backs either, but I feel far more confident in my work than Amicus ever should have in his own. I guess his carelessness makes some sort of sense, considering I'm a tiny human and he's a giant canine. He probably thought he'd just be able to toss me back in the closet if I got free. I go over my work, somewhat satisfied with how neat and tight the binding is. I shift and almost slide off the wolf's ass, forcing me to put my hands back and steady myself on his thighs. They're thick and heavily muscled, and that makes me realise that they might also be a problem. While binding his arms is a start, I have no doubt in my mind to be able to take me out with a few nasty kicks. I stand up and start looking around for more of that rope. That's when I notice something strange happening outside the windows. Thin streaks of white light stretch and bend, moving slowly from the front before arcing in long lines to the sides and disappearing from sight. I stare, mesmerised, and suddenly feel sick at the sight. I avert my eyes, looking at the wall while I watch a strange light show out of the corner of my eye. Are those stars? Are we in some sort of wormhole, or what was it called? Hyperspace? I start to get the feeling that I'm very, very far from Earth now, which makes me feel even more sick. I want to keep my mind off of it, so I set about searching the deck for more of the metal rope, trying to ignore that we might be moving at the speed of light into the depths of space. I don't have very much luck. Most everything in the ship is flush to its surface, with very few moving parts. I end up going back to the utility closet. That's when I see that metal polygon with the long cord sticking out of it, the one I knocked off the shelf earlier. I lean over and pull at it, deciding it should hold, even if it's more plasticky and not metal. 5 minutes later and I have his legs bound together. I search around for the taser for another minute before finding it pinned between Amicus's chest and the deck. I'm hot and sweaty as I finally sit back against the opposite wall, staring at the face-down wolf and his bindings. I weigh the taser in my hand, going over scenarios in my mind what I'm going to say to him when he wakes back up. I'm not sure how long it takes, an hour, maybe two, before Amicus starts to stir. First he groans, then he rolls over a few times, then draws up his bound legs before trying to work his paws free. Finally he opens his eyes, and because he's on his side, I'm the first thing he sees. He squints, frowns, and groans again, turning over onto his stomach. What the hell? I clear my throat and swallow, trying not to show how nervous I am. Yeah, what the hell? You tased me again. What? Amicus turns his head to look at me again, and looks away, letting out another groan. Oh, my stomach. What did you do? Exactly what you did to me. I hold up my taser, turn it in the light so the wolf can fully see it. Amicus stares at it for a moment before letting his face fall back to the floor of the deck. Fuck. Yeah, fuck. I feel like I'm on fire. Did you use it at full power? What the hell is wrong with you? Despite my fear and anxiety over this entire situation, I'm able to feel indignant. Me? You did the same to me, then lied to me, then tased me again, then tied me up. You're crazy. I would never use full power on anyone. Amicus seems to ignore my rants. He rolls onto his back, arching over his tied paws, probably stretching out the muscles I hit with the taser. I wait a while longer, listening to the grunts, groans and complaints as Amicus continues to whine. I'm not that stupid though. I can tell he's stalling for time, trying to figure out a way to get out of this. I stand up. Take me home. Amicus opens one eye, glaring at me. What? I said, take me home. Amicus goes quiet for a moment. His eyes close and he forces himself to sit up, visibly cringing. He's forced to use his stomach muscles. He scoots back with more complaints until he plants his back against the wall behind him. I see his shoulders shift. His biceps bulging and can tell he's working intestinal restraints. I raise the taser. Stop moving or I'm going to hit you again. Fuck off. I move toward him, brandishing the taser like a sword. Hey, hey, hey! Amicus kicks his feet up, trying to block my attack. Now I see real fear in his eyes. Then stop moving and tell me how we get back. I don't really want to shock him again. It did look really painful. On top of that, I don't want to knock him out for hours while our little ship is hurtling through space. Amicus glares at me for a moment, his feet still in the air before he slowly lowers them. I'll show you if you'll let me go. I actually laugh and the sound seems to startle the wolf. Are you kidding me? Why should I trust you at all after what you've done to me? Amicus's ears flatten. Tell me where the hell you're taking me and why, otherwise I will zap you again. Well, He seems at a loss for words. I can't tell you. I glare, and for a moment I consider just jabbing him again right then and there. Why not? The wolf remains silent as he looks away from me. I feel myself getting even more angry. I'm tired of this alien holding me hostage. Well, I guess I'll just have to figure out on my own then. I turn away and start moving towards the front of the deck. Amicus shifts around behind me. What? You don't know the first thing about this ship, don't? The big wolf grunts as he tries to get his feet under him. Don't touch anything. I ignore him, move the panels, looking them over. The big one in the middle looks promising and I start poking at it. I know I won't be able to figure out how to turn the ship around. The wolf's worry over me touching the panels gives me an idea. I can probably mess things up to the point where he'll have to tell me what he's doing, or even how I might be able to get back. There aren't many other options aside from torturing him, something I don't really want to do. The lines and shapes move my finger and Roman numerals pop up randomly here and there. Hey, what are you doing? Amicus huffs and puffs behind me, just as the circle appears and compresses around my finger like it's zeroed in on something. I look back to see Amicus hobbling up onto his tied-together feet, looking just about ready to topple over. You have no idea what... I feel a soft vibration under my finger, not unlike my phone's haptic feedback. Override in sleep mode. Logged onto Stellar 556425. No! Come! Stop last directive! Voice commands for piloting are reserved for the Emperor, Amicus. Human, stop! Amicus starts hopping toward me on his bound feet. I scramble to the side so he doesn't run into me. No, no, no! The wolf stares down at the panel. I look out of the window as the stars seem to curve all the way to my right, making me feel sick again, and the next thing I know, the cabin is lit up by an ominous red glow. The windows suddenly tint, blocking the worst of the light. That's when I'm able to see a massive ball of fire in front of the ship. The size of it is incredible. Orbital trajectory will intersect with photosphere. Ensure safety straps are in place, making corrective maneuvers. I only have a moment to wonder what the hell Com is talking about before Amicus and I are thrown sideways into the left window of the ship. The impact is mostly cushioned by Amicus's body, and I hear him yell and curse under me. Move! Get in the seat! I struggle to reach out to the seat in front of me, but I can barely lift my hand. The gravity of the star is so powerful it feels like it's going to suck out my soul. Then I'm suddenly boosted up by something behind me. I look back and the movement makes me feel like my neck is going to break. I see Amicus with his back planted against the window, his feet pushing me up to the seat. I manage to grab the armrest and pull myself into it. Now the left armrest is digging painfully into my back, making it feel as if a professional wrestler is slamming me into a backbreaker. Amicus jumps from the window high enough that his feet land against the right side of my chair. Then he jumps again, managing to wedge himself into the footwell of the opposite seat. Heat shields are compromised. Expect heat damage to outer layer of ship in 30 seconds. With a great deal of snarling and gasping, he pushes himself awkwardly into the seat, both feet planted against the panels in front of him for leverage. He turns to me, teeth bared, a determined look in his eyes. Look at your right armrest. Do you see the green panel between the red buttons? Through the shock, I'm somehow able to understand him and look down. Now, drag your finger across it to the left. It'll steer the ship. I feel panic starting to rise in my chest at the idea of steering a goddamn spaceship. What? Just do it. Point it away from the star. I do as I'm told, sliding the thumb gingerly over the green panel. And slowly the ship turns, pointing away from the star, shifting the incredible force of gravity until it's pulling us back into the seats. Now see that lever in between us? Yeah. Pull it down. Now reaching my hand out is almost impossible as it gets pulled back toward the star behind us. Gritting my teeth, I lean forward as hard as I can, practically throwing myself forward and grabbing onto the lever. Then gravity does the rest of the work and the lever comes down hard. I lose my grip and get thrown back into my seat. The gravity increases twofold, and for a moment it feels like my entire body has been crushed into a pancake. And then the burning orange light is gone and the deck goes black. Running diagnostics. Amicus? Yes, Com. Damage to the ship is severe. Recovery mode is required. Enter recovery mode. Stand by. We sit in silence for a long long time. I lean against the seat with both feet drawn up to my chest, feeling numb and shaky. I also feel stupid, embarrassed, and kind of guilty. On one hand, I nearly just got us both killed. But on the other hand, this crazy alien almost killed me by bringing me here in the first place. At least it feels that way. I still don't know what his ultimate plan is with me. I wonder for the 100th time if I'm going to wake up. I plug my nose in the dark and try to breathe through my nostrils. No air comes through. I sigh and look out the window at the blue glow that we found ourselves in. The star that we just escaped is far away now, though it's still an almost blinding tiny orb far to my left, kind of like the sun was not too long ago. It's lighting up all of this dust that surrounds us with an eerie blue glow. It's kind of calming. I look over at Amicus and see him slumped in his chair looking out the window. His shoulders are hunched, ears drooping and his head down. He's on the edge of his seat because his arms are still tied behind his back, forcing him to lean forward a bit. Com hasn't spoken since we went into recovery mode, and the ship hasn't moved at all. The usual hum isn't even there. It's like everything is turned off. I finally decide to break the silence. Amicus? I see his ears flick, but he keeps his head down, not even looking at me. I swallow, then try again. Amicus? I see his shoulders rise and fall in a deep sigh, but he keeps silent. I'm just about to give up and slump back into my seat when he suddenly responds. What? What's happening? The wolf turns to glare at me. What do you mean, what's happening? You broke the ship. He turns away and continues to sulk. I feel a little anger at that and realise that this alien isn't alien at all. He's acting just like an upset human kid that didn't get his way. Makes me a little less afraid of him. Excuse me? Do I have to go through the list of shit that you did to me? Amicus turns to me again. I can practically see his mind working to think of some sort of comeback. Well, I think you topped it by nearly throwing us into a star, human. You shouldn't have kidnapped me in the first place, wolf. Well, I should be calling you child, since that's what you are. Well, this child outsmarted you, zapped you and tied you up. I see him bristle, the hackles rising on his shoulders like a dog. You could have killed me. That setting's meant for creatures 3 times my size. How was I supposed to know? I don't know anything about what's going on. I told you what's going on. You really think I'm stupid, don't you? Amicus pouts and turns away again. I think you thought I was some stupid alien you could just take advantage of. I can tell you've been lying to me this whole time. Amicus flattens his ears even more, shoulders bunching up. Is that what you and your people do? Just lying and kidnapping people you meet? Now his hackles really raise up and he turns on me fast. I try not to lean back. Despite the similarities, he's still a wolf and those teeth are terrifying. I do not lie. The wolf's righteous indignation seems to deflate. The situation is too complicated for you to understand. I glare at him. Who's tied up again? Amicus doesn't take the bait this time and remains slumped. I guess it doesn't matter now. We're probably going to die out here with how badly the ship is burned. That makes my stomach twist a bit. I want to ask him if he's just moping or he actually thinks we're going to die. But another long moment of silence stretches between us. I look out the window again at the towering clouds of dust in front of us. Well, if that's the case, then can you just tell me what's going on? Amicus goes on staring out his window. I sigh and lean back, resigned to the idea that I might not ever know why I was dragged out to space to simply get stuck and die in a dust cloud. Then Amicus speaks. I made some mistakes. I glance at him, waiting. Not wanting to say anything in case he stops talking. I didn't know your species wasn't part of the Galaxius. It's very illegal to make first contact without authorization of a parent. Parent? The authorities of the galaxy. I frown and Amicus looks at the confusion on my face. How can I put this simply? There are 3 levels in the Galaxius. The very top are the parents. They arrived in our galaxy from other galaxies to spread their culture here. Amicus glances at me. You know there are galaxies outside of our own? Yeah. Amicus lets out a breathy chuckle. Of course, I probably should have expected that. So you must know then that intergalactic travel is incredibly advanced, almost godlike, and that's what they are. Gods. There are 6 of them that still have a presence in our galaxy, though they rarely communicate with us these days. Then there are the siblings. That's what my species are part of. The galaxy was scoped out by the parents at the very beginning to find the most intelligent and capable species to spread their culture. They each selected one, and we were the ones picked and uplifted by the Romanus. From then on, it's been our mission to spread their philosophy and culture, to uplift. I try to make sense of that in terms I can understand. So, you spread their culture for them. They're like your god and your species are like missionaries? Amicus shrugs. Yeah, sort of like that. That doesn't sound so great, especially when I compare it to things that have happened on Earth. Mass galactic assimilation. So, why are they doing this? I mean, if they got here at the same time and did the same thing, does that mean they're working together? Amicus shakes his head. We don't really know all of the reasons for what the parents do, but the siblings compete and our cultures clash. Fighting is rare these days, though. Well, that brings us to the rest of the sentients in the galaxy, the children. The siblings spread our cultures to these children and bring them into our fold under the direction of our parent. Well, I suppose the parents are waiting to see which culture wins out, but they never told us directly. So I'm a child? Well, no, not really. You're not part of the Galaxius, and that's where I've made my mistake. Well, like I said, it was illegal for me to contact you, but I didn't know. How did you not know that? Shouldn't you have a record of this type of stuff? Well, that's the confusing part to me. I found Earth in the library, so there's a record of it, but there wasn't much. Just a few footnotes about a sentient species there. But because that record exists, I know that your species was uplifted at some point. Our species came to your planet to spread our ways of living, our culture, to uplift you to child status. In Rome. Presumably. Like ancient aliens. Well, I don't know. If that's your word for it. Well, sometimes a species is unable to be uplifted for different reasons. Too aggressive, too docile, too unintelligent. Amicus glances at me. Well, I thought this is what happened to your species. Then if we've been uplifted, does that mean you've already made first contact? Yes, but you're still not part of the Galaxius. That's why I made the mistake. You should know about it, but you don't. Knowledge of other intelligent life is sacred, and for whatever reason, your species lost it. Uplift has been cancelled with species in the past, but we don't completely cut off contact. I've never heard of something like this happening before, so I panicked. Come. Amicus glances at the ceiling. Wasn't able to tell me that until he connected to your nexus. Nexus? Another word that doesn't translate. Like, technology that connects places, people, information. The internet. Well, if that's your word for it. So, I try to understand everything I'm being told. Why didn't you just tell me all of this before you kidnapped me, or knocked me out? I see Amicus's ears flat and he looks away, clearly ashamed. Oh, I don't know. I didn't fully understand the intelligence of your species yet. I thought I could just lead you to believe things. I don't say anything and Amicus shifts uncomfortably. Well, leaving you on Earth after you saw me, you might have gone to the authorities on your planet with that knowledge, which might have led to a monitor being alerted. Amicus answers my question before I can ask it. Monitors are basically the ears and eyes of the parents. They monitor the galaxy. And what happens then? Amicus sighs deeply. I don't know. It hasn't happened before as far as I know. It's the main law we're supposed to follow. Knowing I'd broken it. Amicus pauses. Scared you? Amicus shakes his head but doesn't say anything. I try to piece all this together in my head. So then you panic and kidnap me. It was either that or kill you, or leave you and hope for the best. That's a risk that I can't really take right now. Amicus seems to shrink in his seat. And I guess I just didn't want to tell you because I knew I'd disrupted your life in a terrible way. I thought I might be able to make you forget and want to stay with me if you saw my home. But why? Why did you do it in the first place? What did you want from me? Amicus looks at me for a long while, probably debating on how much to tell me, then he turns away. I needed a pet. Excuse me? Amicus shrinks up even more in his chair. It's a very long story. I glare at the back of his head. Well, if we're going to be here a while, then I have time. Amicus goes on staring out the window. My father was the emperor. The throne was mine to take. My brother has challenged me, so now we're both competing for it. Amicus looks at me out of the corner of his eye for my reaction. His expression tells me I should be impressed, but learning he might be an influential figure amongst his people doesn't really seem too crazy after the events of the past day or so. And getting a pet will help you how? Well, my brother has one. A sibling species, which means that his pet is on the same level as the hierarchy as us. I frown. Oh, and that's unusual? Well, definitely. It shouldn't even be legal, but somehow he negotiated it. Well, they signed a contract and everything. I shake my head. So, what does having a pet do? Amicus shrugs. Oh, it's a good status symbol to have. The fact that my brother was able to obtain such a prestigious pet shows his skill at negotiation, and has put me at a huge disadvantage. I needed to do something even more grand to impress my father's advisor. He's the one that will choose between us. By kidnapping me? Amicus growls. That wasn't part of the plan. I thought you'd know what I was, and we were going to make a deal, like my brother did with his pet. I wanted ascension that no one has seen in a long time. So that's why I'm here. Be used as some pawn in some power struggle in some alien empire far away? So why can't you take me back? What if I promise not to say anything? I would take you back if I could. Well, I realise now that would have been the better option, but I can't. Why not? First of all, the ship might be damaged beyond repair. Secondly, there isn't enough power to get back. Earth was on the outer reaches of how far I could travel. I need the rest to return home. I managed to stop myself from telling the wolf that all of this is his fault and shouldn't be my problem at all. Well, can we get more power when we get to your home, then go back to Earth? No, it's a type of power that the parents produce. We're not able to harness it yet. So get more from them, from wherever you got the power in the first place. Amicus leans his head against the headrest. Our parent authorises and distributes it, then takes it back when we're not on campaigns. We aren't on any right now. I feel myself growing more and more frustrated. Then how the hell are you using it now? A moment of silence goes by. This was my father's ship. Only the Emperor has constant access to the technology. I borrowed it to get to you. I glare at him. You mean stole it? You know, you're pretty dishonest for someone who says they never lie. Another soft rumbling growl from him. Times are desperate. I'll ask your dad to get me back then. If you didn't gather from earlier, he's dead. So no one has access to it right now. I'm just using up what was left. I stare at Amicus for a while, words failing me. Listen, I didn't want to do all those things I did to you. I'm protecting us both. I laugh. Oh, really? Yes. Well, I was planning to bring you to the palace to live a good life and forget your old one. Then when you started asking those questions, I realised your intelligence is much higher than I thought it would be. Then Com thought you might attack me. I made mistakes. Amicus lets out another huge sigh and slumps into the seat, looking away. Several minutes go by in silence, both of us staring out into the eerie blue. So what now? What are your plans? Amicus is the one to laugh this time. Get out of these bonds, if you'd let me. I look at him incredulously. Amicus sighs. Listen, you have no idea how to run this ship. I can at least run diagnostics to see what we can do about this. What's to stop you from knocking me about again? Or if you don't attack me or hit me with the Nervo again, then I won't have to. I look to my left armrest and pick up the little taser device. This? Amicus eyes it uneasily. Yeah. How can I trust you everything that's happened? I give you my word. I frown. And you could go back on it just as easily. I would never do that. I don't make promises lightly, Tibor. Amicus is so indignant that I actually believe him. Or he's just a really good actor. Either way, I'm going to have to let him go at some point, especially if he really can't get back to Earth. So I make my decision. If I let you go, you'll have to find a way to get me back to Earth. Amicus thinks for a moment. Well, I can do that if I become Emperor. And how long will that take? Amicus shrugs. Oh, a few months if all goes well. With your help, it could be even faster. You're very clever. Or more intelligent than some wolves I know even. Months? My parents are probably freaking out by now. School starts in a few weeks. Or these things seem so distant now. Amicus frowns. Oh, I'm sorry, but I can't do anything. I need to be an emperor to even talk to the parents. I think, but again I don't have many options. I look Amicus in the eye. You promise? You have my word. For a moment I sit there contemplating. Then I sit up straight. All right, stand up. Amicus perks up then and hops to his bound feet, almost falling over. I'm sure to place the Nervo close by behind me just in case. A few minutes later the wolf is free. We both regard each other wearily for a few minutes before Amicus finally sighs. Listen, I have no reason to incapacitate you now that you know everything. If it makes you feel better, you can hang on to the Nervo until we get to Ad Astra. That a fair exchange? I look back at their little device. While I have little reason to trust Amicus, the wolf has virtually no reason to trust me. I consider it, then shake my head. Can we put it away somewhere? I'd rather just not be thinking about it. Amicus looks at me in surprise, then rubs his stomach where I jabbed him. Okay, yeah, that sounds like a deal to me. Amicus holds out a paw, and I look down at the thick black pads on his fingers and palm while picking up the nerve and handing it to him carefully. For a moment I imagine him immediately turning the thing around before jabbing it into my face, but instead he turns and walks toward the back of the ship. Sticking out a paw, he presses a panel and a small portion of the wall slides back, revealing another, smaller room. Where I am, I can see what looks like a little cot and various cupboards. He opens one of these and places the Nervo inside before shutting it. He comes back out and notices me staring. That's my quarters, where I sleep. If you need to urinate or whatever else you do, there's a toilet in there. I'm fine for now. I feel my stomach gurgle, something it's been doing for a while now. I am a little hungry, though. Amicus raises a brow. You want to try it again? Sure. It's not the worst food I've ever had. The earthy smell translates into the taste, but there's a strange hint of sweetness to it, like chocolate, and that makes it a little more palatable. I can at least swallow it down without gagging, so that's good, I guess. Amicus has his own cup, though he's paying more attention to the panels than to his food. Oh, I may have been exaggerating a bit earlier. Damage appears to be minimal. We're actually lucky that you didn't lock onto something worse, like a pit. A pit? Amicus shrugs, waving his hand in the air, as if brushing my question aside. Oh, a very strong gravitational singularity that sucks everything up around it. Like a black hole. Black hole? Like, its gravity is so powerful not even light can escape, making it a black hole? Amicus looks at me in surprise. Oh, you know what that is? Wow. Oh, I guess I should stop being surprised, honestly. You humans really are something. You basically uplifted yourselves. I shrug. We touched on it in my Astronomy 101 class. I don't know much about them. But the fact that your species found out about them in the first place... Yeah, anyway. Amicus presses a button before suddenly the hum of the ship comes back to life. Systems back online. And... Amicus pulls the lever, and suddenly the blue disappears and the windows are filled with warping stars again. I immediately look away, feeling the chocolate mud start to work its way back up again. We were actually almost to Ad Astra when you took control. I should be there fairly soon. What is this? I wave my hand at the window, not looking. The bend in light. Oh, it's a stretch drive. Basically, space and time have been shortened ahead of us. Amicus puts his paws close together in front of himself. And stretched out behind us. Amicus stretches his paws out wide. I don't really know how it works. Only the parents know how to harness that kind of power. That's the only way I could get to Earth, or anywhere outside our star system, really. They even figured out a way to make time stand still around us when we travel. Otherwise, way too much time would have passed back home. I'm starting to get a picture of how powerful these parents actually are, beings capable of warping space and time at their will. So, how much more time? Arriving at Stella Vita. And just like that, the stars become still again. Amicus grins. Welcome to Ad Astra, Tibor. And doesn't that look like a really nice place? I don't actually know, I'm assuming this could well be actually where Amicus lives, so he's got that view. It's pretty good going. So yeah, that is as far as it goes at the moment. The only person who knows where we're going from here is Howley, and he's not telling anyone what's going to happen. So yeah, I will maybe do a few more videos. Like I said, I don't know exactly how things are going to go with this one, so we'll see on that. But if you follow Howley on Patreon, you can do that without giving him money. You can see some updates there. And I imagine he'll also be posting on the Echo Twitter feed. So I'll put that in the description so you can check on there. Just follow Howley, or I think it's at Echo the VN. I will check on that and put that in. And you'll get updates when the new Adastras go public. I think he'll be putting them there. I don't normally do too much of a review, but I don't know about you, I love this VN. It's played it about 3 times in the first couple of days I had access to it. And for those of you who know my Echo videos, and yes, I'm a bit of a fan of Leo, and he definitely has very strong competition from Amicus now. I'm just treating it as 2 separate universes, so I can actually like them both equally. I'm not going to try and rank those 2. Yeah, I think he's a great character. I'm interested to see where this goes. And yeah, if you listen to this, definitely download it, play it yourself. There aren't going to be that many options, so you won't see a lot different to what I've done, certainly on this demo. But you can certainly play it through and spend more time looking at Amicus. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want to spend more time looking at Amicus? And because it's been a very long day, I'm starting to ramble. So thanks for watching this. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, Howley, if you are listening. I really enjoy doing this. And until the next video, have a good night. Nusta.